I was 15 and I don't want to be a pop star even now. I think of myself in terms of being a very proactive artist and someone who creates as much as possible.
So what did it actually take to get you to that point? I mean, how were you putting yourself out there to be heard and to have people take notice of Marina?
Well, in the beginning it was through a lot of manufactured pop auditions, and I realised that wasn't the route that I wanted to take. And then it was really just writing over a period of 4 years, and for a very long time I sent out demos. I used to do everything that I could to get heard, and I wasn't doing something right, and people never really responded, and I felt like they hated me. So I then purchased a laptop and I started to produce songs on my own instead of getting other people to do it for me, and that was a click moment when my sound suddenly became defined, and that's when people started listening. So for other people out there, if you're good, people will hear you and they'll find you, but you have to be good.
So do you think that taking control of your own production, of the way, knowing your own sound and doing it yourself instead of putting that in the hands of someone else, that was really the tipping point for you?
Absolutely. Like, starting off as thinking that I was going to become some kind of pop act, as you say, a pop star, and ending up as someone who was essentially a DIY musician, it was definitely turning out to be a more alternative project. And my favourite musicians are DIY musicians, so that's where I've come from.
Yeah, I saw that you're a big fan of Daniel Johnston, which is, when you think about that, Marina and the Diamonds, Daniel Johnston, do they sit side by side? But what is it about him that's really special for you other than that very lo-fi recording method?
I think he really opened me up to a whole new world of music and a whole new perception of what an artist is. And for me, he really encouraged me, because if you think of someone who's been spoon-fed pop up until, 20, 21 years old, and then you hear someone like Daniel Johnston, you're like, God, this is terrible, but I love it. And it sounds like a child has made it, like the production is so all over the place. And I just thought, well, he's obviously got something really captivating here, yet he doesn't fit the normal molds, and people still love him. And I thought, if he can do it, then I can. And that's when I started to produce things myself and play live, even though I wasn't even grade 1 on piano. It's all about emotion, and if you have heart and people connect to that, they see right through it. So
we've got obsessions. I want to wipe out all the sad ideas that come to me when I am holding you. We've got obsessions. All you ever think about are sick ideas involving me, involving you too.
What kind of stuff were you listening to? You mentioned being spoon-fed pop till you were about 22. What was the stuff playing in your house when you were growing up?
Well, nothing really. Really didn't engage in music that much as a family, and I'm not a huge music fan, but the people who I love, I'm obsessed with. I say spoon-fed because all I really received on the radio was, like the big pop. That was liked globally, and that was the same in Greece and in Wales, because I lived in a small village and you don't really get much. Didn't have internet at the time, So I then came to London and I just discovered so many other acts who communicated with my identity as opposed to what the radio told you to listen to.
One of the songs that we've been playing a lot at Triple J is Mowgli's Road. Are you a big fan of The Jungle Book? What's your experience?
It just had a bit of a Disney vibe to it on the chorus. It goes, and I don't know. And I thought of like Baloo, the bear, singing it. And then I suddenly went, cuckoo, in the studio. And that's how the Mowgli's Road theme started to seep in.
Is that fun for you when you're in the studio and you just decide to start, squawking like a bird? Do you do that often, find yourself just free form?
No, I think that's definitely a rare song, so I don't think that will ever happen again.
The confidence on this record is something that stands out from the get-go, particularly in that sort of vibe of the album being very concerned with the self, about Marina's story. It can cause a lot of backlash. There is tall poppy syndrome around the world, particularly in Australia, and I think in the UK as well. What's been your sort of experience of that, of people kind of picking away at you telling your own story on this bombastic record?
Oh, I don't mind at all. I mean, that's part of the whole thing, is that this album was not about being egotistical, but about being very self-obsessed and very analytical of yourself, which is, I think, a lot of people go through when they're trying to figure out who they are. and that happens when you're young a lot of the time. So I quite like it because they're analysing why I'm analysing myself, so more for them. But yeah, it's time to move on from that. The next album won't be about, you know, making it and being ambitious and trying to prove who I am, because I've proved it now and I don't have to do that anymore.
So for Marina and the Diamonds, if this is just 1 year of many and this is just one album of many, have you got any kind of idea of where you want to go to next, or are you pretty open to the direction that you'll head?
Yes, definitely. I think I'm always going to remain in music, and I just want to push myself as an artist to have the highest creative output that I can. I'm planning my next 2 projects already, and I just want to get on and keep writing. You know, I don't want to just stick on the family jewels. Obviously, I want people to enjoy it and for it to spread, but I'm an artist and my job isn't to not be writing for 2 years, so I'm just getting on.